Some of the vintage non-sport sales on eBay in February were crazy. We had an Edison that sold for close to $1,500. Our first time that Kurt Cobain as well as Edgar Allan Poe have made this list. We're going to be going over 30 cards as well as some honorable mentions and some boxes at the very end of this video. Let's take a look at this list. Starting off this week's top 30, we actually have a sale from the ComC eBay store. I think the first time that high-end vintage non-sports has been featured here from there. But this is 1964 Mars Attack, but it's the UK edition, which I didn't even know existed. I think the normal Mars Attack is what, 62? I think we usually have a few on the list, so we'll see a little bit later in the video. Prize Captive, obviously the most popular card in the set. This 6, which is a new cert, and it looks like a pretty solid card overall. Sold for $856. You can take a look at the back over here. The one thing I'm kind of curious about is, first off, the size. Like, are these a little bit smaller over in the UK? Because some of the UK issues that they made of Topps cards tend to be smaller. And typically I also see A and BC Gum that produce a lot of the Topps cards. This is 64, so they tend to be a little bit later in the 60s. So I'm curious when that ended up switching over. But a pretty strong start at $850 essentially for our list this week. Up next, we have $859 sold straight up for this Edgar Allan Poe 1952 look and see. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that this is the first Edgar Allan Poe card I believe that made the top 30 list. Personally, I would have thought his N76 would have been on here, but I think this is the highest Edgar Allan Poe sale on record. With the N76s, there's really not many sales of 3s and 4s out there, and he also has a Duke N79 that's pretty popular. A follow-up card would be a 1924 Men of Genius, but I don't even think that's a $300 or $400 card yet. This huge non-sports sale here at $850. This also kind of surprised me. This is a Duke N76. Personally, this is one of my top 5 favorite sets of all time. We have the one and only George Washington. Definitely one of the bigger names in the set itself, being our first president. And I can tell you that this card is striking in person. The picture for this listing honestly looks pretty dull. Not going to roast the seller because he got a fantastic sale over here at $861. This photo does not do it justice. I promise you it looks way nicer in person. I personally have a 4 copy in my collection, and I was lucky. I think I paid $600 last year for my 4, if I remember correctly. I can't tell if these are pencil marks or a dealer stamp. Sometimes you'll see like 1800s cards with dealer stamps on them, but I think this is more of a dealer stamp than anything else than like ink. Maybe it just, faded away over time, or the stamp didn't fully go on. I can't 100% tell. But that, like I said, very strong sale with this. It's not a bad looking too. I think just the picture and the stamp limited it a little bit, but $861 is still a very, very strong. All right, so this was the best offer accepted, $875 over here. 1966 Marvel superhero number 66 Thor rookie. I don't know for sure if this is a Thor rookie or not. This is outside my realm of expertise. But we can take a look at this card over here. Old label on this one. Write your own. Just basic comic graphics. Collect all 66 cards. Thor cards numbered 56 through 66, which is kind of interesting. And we put it back. It looks kind of like a puzzle type card over here, but this card actually also came from Idaho. Not many card sellers out of there. No card shows that I'm personally aware of. All right, we have our first Superman card, 37 bids, $877.71. Man, you can have the extra 7 here at the end. Either way, we have a 5 over here, 1940 Superman, the runaway trolley car. And we can take a look at this over here. And I don't know, maybe a set registry. It is, and this does mention that it is a rare high number. I don't know how scarce those specifically are. I mean, I would assume that's probably why I got a pretty hefty premium at $877, but I'm not an expert on this side of things. All right, wacky packs. Cracked lighter, white back. So get burned by a cracked by Colette. The super disposable lighter you can dispose of immediately with this interesting art. I had to put it on the thumbnail if you clicked on this video. Old slab, PSA 9, so probably goes into a registry. Sold by Probstein, 19 bids, $877.89. I think we featured this one before, but 1940 novelty Superman R146. It says this is hand cut as well, but it looks like there's a perforated edge over here, so I'm not too sure. Let me know in the comments. Someone, I believe, once in a video said that this card came out before the other Superman stuff, so this is technically the first Superman card, although they were both issued in 1940. I do want to see some clarification on that too, but you can see what the back looks like. Looky, oh, it's a coupon over here. I was gonna say it kind of looks like a stock certificate in the sense, but I don't know if this was a good sale or not. Seems kind of cheap compared to some of the other Superman stuff, what they've been going for recently. $8.95 might be very cheap, and this was a buy it now. It wasn't an auction, so yeah, there's that Superman. All right, we have a dual autograph lot. Normally I don't put lots in this top 30, but all the money is essentially in this Sylvester Stallone. This is not his first card, but obviously being with the Rocky series, that's his first famous role that people know him for. I wish there was Rocky 1 cards, but they started with Rocky 2. Unless there's some stickers that were printed overseas. I don't know. I will say I hate this trading card label. I've talked about it in other videos. Label, spend the extra few dollars and label the actual card. Get a dual grade. Because like, even looking at this card, it looks pretty clean. Maybe like what, a 6 or a 7. A little off-centered over there. But, and I don't know who this is over here, to be honest with you. Like actress-wise. Don't really watch a lot of movies, so can't tell you that. But number 1 and 2 in the set, both autographed, and that sold for exactly about $900 with the one bid. All right, we have a 1992 Enemy Leader of the Pack, Kurt Cobain, and this was a buy it now that sold straight up for $900. It kind of surprised me. I just do want to call it out though, because I was talking to Music Chat about this a little bit earlier today. There is another Cobain on eBay at 8 that's listed for $700, and you can see that over here. So this is a PSA one compared to the SGC. So I don't know if the person purchased this one before the other PSA 8 got listed or what. I mean, because the PSA 8's at $700 compared to this $900 sale. So I just want to mention that just for full transparency, and also full transparency, I do own this card in an 8, I think. Maybe 7.5 or 8. I'm pretty sure it's an 8. But I do also know the person who just got a 9, which is the highest graded in the set. So if you are looking for that 9, he is selling it. I believe it's also listed on eBay too. But one of Cobain's first cards. I don't know the order of cards that were produced in 1992. There's a few out there. Personally, like this being such a high sale on this Kurt Cobain card, I'd be surprised to see what a Genki goes for in auction. The Genki is probably the rarest Nirvana card from 1992, and there's also a Smash Hits out of Australia that tends to be super scarce as well. The Smash Hits Nirvana card right now fluctuates in here from like 200 to 300-ish, but they don't sell that often. The Genki hasn't sold in years, but I do have a good Genki story for you. The first time I actually won this card, I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. I visited after a card show. I can't remember what card show it was. Maybe it was Strongsville. Thinking it was Strongsville. But I was sitting at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Nirvana's song was playing in the background. I wish I could remember what song was playing. But I had my phone up and eBay was listed. And I was tracking the Genki for a while. And there was one at auction ending while at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I put in what we call a mega bid. And I won my Genki. Which that Genki came back as a CGC 8, I believe, or 8.5. And still one of my favorite cards in my collection. I don't think I'll ever sell that just because of the story of, purchasing this while at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and a Nirvana song was playing in the background. It's just one of those wild collecting stories. But not to go off track, let's keep going forward with the top 30 sales this month. We have another Superman over here, 44 bids, $998 right on the dot, a PSA 7, 100% going into the set registry. I hate to be the one to say it. I think this is an ugly 7, especially with the roller marks right over there. It's an old label, so you can see over here, not even a really good lighthouse or anything like that. So maybe this would be like a 5 or a 6 today. But people will overpay for their registry labels. And I guess that's the point of having a registry. 1959 Fleer Three Stooges number 61. This is a PSA 10. Again, old label. Can't tell how nice this one is with these scans. Um, Again, I would assume registry side things, but 1095, $1,200. This got sold by Next Gem. I also believe is an app. I think I met Next Gem before at a card show, but Han Solo Wonder Bread. This got a 10 for some reason, and I think I remember a collector telling me about these. There's a lot of these in really good shape. I think it was Jay. Jay collects non-sports and Disney stuff, but a lot of these are in really good shape. But $1,200 for that copy, 14 bids. All right, 1321 Leader / Superman attacked by sharks perforated. It looks like. Wonder if it's I'm thinking this is the same set as that header card that we saw in the beginning. I don't know, like if this is a scarce card in that set or just that set's tough in general. 1321. I mean, that 4.5. It was a 4.5, I think, or a 4 BVG. That 895. That seems like a really good deal if this sold for 1321. But again, I don't collect superhero stuff, so being transparent, I don't know. The Green Hornet, conversion wise, after this best offer, it sold for 1349. Old label, not the most valuable card I think in the set. I think there's like a solo Green Hornet card. I bought one in a bargain bin a long time ago and sold it for maybe $20 or $30, and it was really terrible shape. Unless it's like a short print or something like that, but pretty high sale. We talked about Mars Attack. It is 1962 for the US version. Another old label. I mean, this video is getting dominated by this. 1356 for this in a Washington in Flames. I'm not gonna lie, this is a super generous Thomas Edison 4. I mean, look at how curved this corner is. Yikes. Super curved over there. Curved. I mean, it looks like almost a playing card at this point. And I think most people agree that older graded cards, they tend to have like a little bit of a bump by like a grade or two at times. Although this does look nicer than my personal Edison copy. I have a 2, but it's not centered at all. It's miscut essentially, but it's still a Thomas Edison. It's not the easiest card to come across. 1424, a phenomenal sale of this, to be honest. And this seller also had the Washington, so he did a great job selling these. I did not predict that sale. There was also a 2, I believe, that sold for close to $1,000 this month. I'm pretty sure it's February. That's why it wasn't in this video, because this 4 was here. But there's definitely been a fan base going into Edison cards, which kind of sucks for me because I collect Edison. But you know, it's also good to see at least the non-sport side of things picking up a little bit of attention outside of it. Like, it's a small group of collectors right now. I think a lot more people that collect modern cards or just general 50s through 70s baseball, they just don't appreciate vintage non-sports as much. But I think that's slowly changing. Just talking to different dealers and collectors, which is kind of cool to see, because we should be appreciating all types of cardboard. And I like the history more on the non-sports historical figures than some of the baseball players. Although I will always have a soft spot for baseball. This one sold straight up for $14.75. Blackbeard cards have also been so fast on like a rise. The Allen Ginter as well and this card have been extremely popular the last 6 months. Unfortunately, they're both cards I've had on my want list, but I've kind of been like, I'll get it another month. And there's kind of a little bit of regret on this, because I could have picked this up a while ago a lot cheaper. But we'll see if I end up picking one up one day. This is essentially like a Gaudi. You can tell with the type of design. There is also a version of this that's printed in Canada. The back, I believe, is French. I have like a PSA 1 with the French back. Not of this card, just a common in this set, but I picked it up once at an auction. That's the only reason I know, but you can see that over there, the Sea Raiders, and I really like the artwork on these. We have a few autographed Star Wars cards, so over here, Luke Skywalker, this sold for $1,500. 0 inscription on it, big black Sharpie, probably signed it like a Comic-Con type thing, and BGS authentic. Another autograph over here, Harrison Ford. We have the gold Sharpie. Let's see the placement on it. Although, like, personally, I think the placement should have been a little bit higher. We don't really get that choice. Not full sold there, but that also sold for $1,500. And Beckett cert on the back, and the PSA over here. Authentic. They did not get the card created. but it doesn't look horrible. Probably like a 4 or 5 ish. I'd give it a 4. Just quick glance. Obviously, I can't see surface and things like that, and sometimes there's wrinkles that we can't see as well. But yeah, at least they labeled the card 1977 Star Wars. Another Sea Raiders Captain Mission. This sold for 1550. Is pretty high grade over here in A7. I don't know how scarce these are in pretty high grades. Something I'll have to look up in the future. I can't tell how the back looks. The picture's pretty blurry and pixelated. Another Mars Attack. This 8 sold for $1,642. Card number 42. Jackie Robinson. And looks like they have a print dot over here, or print defect. But another one possibly right there. Can't tell what's going on in that corner. But still a pretty big sale. I was 50-50 if I was going to add this one in here because it's 1992. And Marvel Masterpieces Spider-Man versus Venom Battle Spectre. I don't know. This card says it's a 40. Maybe this is like a case hit or something. Oh, let me know in the comment section because I'm just not too familiar with it. All right, Han Solo, best offer accepted, $2,500. So always try to shoot a best offer if you think something is asking too much on eBay. Some sellers will accept it. No idea if this was a big premium on this card or that's kind of where the comps are at. But this isn't the first Han Solo card in that set. And unfortunately, there's no back that was posted. All right, Three Stooges, you can't keep. It's a checklist card over here. No checks, which is always a good thing to see. $3,193 with 27 cents, one specific bid. All right, typically I don't put the same card in here twice. This is not the same card because we talked about the UK version in the beginning, and my assessment was right, which those UK version are smaller. This sold straight up $3,587 for this PSA 8. It actually looks like the card is stuck in the PSA slot. Like I can't tell if it's the image, but it looks like it got slid up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the artwork on this card is pretty cool, but it's not something I would personally collect. All right, we're jumping into $4,000. I think this was a crazy high sale. Don't know for sure. I mean, I don't know how popular Jawas is, or if there's a lot of these in good grade. But $4,250. I don't think that's like a pretty big character in the series. So I don't know if the sale fully went through or not. Maybe it did, and just it's super rare to find in a 10. But yeah. In second place, we have this Bob Marley, and sold for $5,000. Now it's a fan club card, and this comes into question. You might have these more traditional sports card person that says, "Oh, this isn't an official release." Well, guess what? You're non-sports, and a lot of music collectors count fan club releases or vinyl releases that come with cards. That is a card in most people's books. Even gum wrappers are considered cards to people, and cover that in another video. But either way, I didn't know any Bob Marley pieces existed card-wise that were signed. I think this is really, really awesome. I'm curious what year this fan club is based out of. Maybe they'll have a description. I'll take a look. We have our letter of authentication over here, which was JSA. It was verified in 2019. All right. You can see that on the site. And let's see if it says anything in description. Fan club members in advance of the 1977 iconic release Exodus. So, guess what? That's probably Bob Marley's first ever card, which is insane that a Bob Marley and loosely first card, because there still could be earlier stuff sold autograph wise for $5,000. Seems like a pretty good deal. But that's just my own personal opinion, especially like that last month Rolling Stones too. I wish I knew both of those existed. Our biggest sale this month, $5,900, is gonna be this Bart Simpson autograph from the creator of The Simpsons. This is hand numbered to 400, and I think it's a really awesome card. I did watch a little bit of Simpsons when I was a kid. What I want in my collection, like 50-50. I mean, it's a bit pricey already for me, but I definitely think this is one of the more iconic non-sports cards, especially in the 90s era. Probably bucket in the top 10, maybe top 25-ish range. And maybe one day I will make a list of what I personally consider the most iconic vintage non-sports cards, but I still think the market's a little bit too early to make a definitive list. So our first honorable mention, and I didn't even know that you could slab these, but original artwork, 1938 Horrors of War. You can take a look at it, the back over here. It looks like it was pasted to some board at once. And this was originally in my list, and I skipped over this and put this in honorable mentions because I don't know if I count this as a card, although it's slab 50-50. But this is the first time I've ever seen the original artwork for this, which is kind of cool to see. This is a pretty cool card out of 1932. So you have Amelia Earhart, you have Duke over here. I want to say Douglas Fairbanks is also on this card. I can't remember. Let's see. Duke, Earhart. Oh, Pavlo Nurmi, I forgot to mention. This is a stacked card, and this is a PSA 9. Now, there's a lot of German cards that still come out when there's higher sales, so I don't know how many 9s there is, though, because that is still pretty tough to find. This sold for $777. Actually, no, King of all cards, too. I think this was a pretty good sale, although, in my opinion, if I had this card, I would have kept it for a little bit longer, especially with all the historical figures on here. I mean, Duke has a pretty big market. Earhart has a pretty big market. Nurmi should. He's a top 10 Olympian of all time, easily a top 2 to top 3 runner of all time. Not a big name in the US, but over in Europe for athletics, he's a pretty big name. And Douglas Fairbanks, a very iconic actor. And actor cards really haven't taken off yet, but if they ever do on the pre-war side of things, Fairbanks would be one of your biggest names. So all of them on one card is really cool to see. 1966 Marvel superhero. From now on, we take breaks. Your coffee breaks. Kind of weird card. This is a Hulk just sleeping on the floor, and that sold for $750. $795. Call the SPCA PSE 10 Pop 4, again from the Three Stooges, one of the most popular sets of all time. I should mention this should have made my top 30 list. When I was going through the list, I had one duplication, so it was technically 29. This would have been number 30, but 1940 Superman Gum, number 71, Trapped in Quicksand. This is a PSA 4. $830. 1964 Beatles Diary, Ringo Starr. They mass produced the set, just to let you guys know. But finding this in a 10, that is tough, and that is the reason why you have the $830 sale. I want to say like 8s and 9s are like sub $100. Could be off. Just not something I've really chased after. You know, it's kind of nice that this is the first episode of the Vintage Non-Sports that the Walt Disney card from 1931 Wills did not make the top 30 list. So I had to put in honorable mentions. This was the highest sale this month. 6.5. This sold for $725. I mean, it doesn't look like a bad copy, but taking a look at this one, a little bit of a rounded corner right there too. I mean, again, it's tough with like this pixel quality. And you're judging on the internet versus in 5350, a 1977 Star Wars wax packs box, 51 bids, February 3rd this sold. And with how some of these 9s and 10s have been selling, who knows? Probably worth more though if you get this authenticated. I'd assume that those individual packs or even the box itself. What's that authenticator that did the Pokemon box? I can't remember. But either way, they would be able to... Oh, baseball card exchange. Either way, to be able to somehow authenticate these. $2,000, the Duke N78 set. I can't remember what the full set went for at the Vintage Non-Sports auction. These don't look too bad, though. You can see what Grant looks like and Lee looks like. I mean, the Grant alone's $300, Lee alone $400 too, plus all these other generals. A lot of popular names in here too. And our last sale of this week, honorable mention wise, 1965 King Kong. Complete set, Donruss, $950. So those were the vintage non-sport sales. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I upload multiple videos every single week and have some pretty exciting projects on the non-sport side that I am currently working on. I can't wait to share it with you guys. With that being said, if you want to watch some of the other past month on the top sales, I have that in a full playlist down below.